Morning, everyone. Pinball here. Happy Thursday morning as we get closer and closer to this fiasco that they're calling an election. Today is part two, the scariest video I'm going to ever make. What happens if Biden wins, and how does it affect all of us preppers? Okay. If you watched yesterday, I kind of went over what's going to happen if Trump wins, and inevitably a somewhat civil war that will wind up happening with all the riots and all. Today we're going to talk about what happens if Biden and Harris win the White House here next week. Okay. Now, I want to start with a quote, and I think it's very, very appropriate for what's going to happen in the world should Joe Biden win the election. And I'm not one to quote Obama that often because most of the time he was talking with his head in his ass. But on this one, he was really, really, really correct. And the quote goes like this: Don't underestimate Joe's ability to fuck things up. Okay. That's pretty much the entire Biden campaign / what would be the Biden presidency. Okay. So here's what I see happening should Sleepy Joe win this one. Okay. And if you guys all haven't figured out which side of the fence I'm lying on, you are deaf, dumb, and blind. I get a kick out of some of the trolls that post in the comments, which they quickly just get removed. I mean, I'm not going to argue with them. I'm not going to fight with them. I'm just going to ignore them and delete. Goodbye. You're gone. So what happens if Biden wins? Okay, first off, night of November 3rd. Yep, you still got riots, okay? Still going to be the same people out there rioting too, because honestly, Black Lives Matter doesn't care, okay? You look at all these riots that are going on in Philadelphia, all right? Kind of be remiss if I didn't talk about them. They're going to go out and riot anyway. They have no cause. It's just, hey, this is a great reason to go steal televisions and washing machines. I love the video of the guy rolling a dolly out the parking lot with a washing machine on it. That was hilarious. Tennis shoes, whatever it would be. Okay. You know, the funny part about all that one, though, is you hear all the Black Lives Matter people screaming about, gee, we're not treated equally. Why do cops look at us, more carefully than the whites or the Asians or the Hispanics? I don't know. Go watch the videos. Maybe that would give you a really good idea why the cops are looking at you a little closer. Okay. So Biden wins. You're still going to have those same riots because they're going to go out and have fun. It's an excuse to go out and steal. Okay. And not saying it's just the black folk. There's plenty of whites out there in there doing this too, okay? We're doing it for the cause, whatever, okay? You're just going out there to cause mayhem, that's it. So the mayhem will continue, though I don't think it'll be as long-lived, okay? So let's go to the day after Biden wins, okay? I hope you bought your guns already, because you can pretty much guarantee that the price of guns is going to go through the roof, okay? And the availability of ammo is going to get even worse than it is now, okay? Because the gun stores are going to try to make whatever they can because they know as soon as Biden and Harris get in there, the first thing they're going to do is try to stop any gun sales, okay? They can't prevent you from owning firearms because of that pesky little Second Amendment, but they sure as hell can prevent you from buying them and prevent you from buying ammo. So you can pretty much guarantee that's coming. Gun prices are going to go through the roof, okay? Things will calm down a little bit. You'll still hear the people screaming about, insurance and how great Obamacare is, because we all like the fact that our health insurance premiums tripled and our coverage got worse. But, hey, we screwed 200 million people out of their insurance so we could insure 30 million people that didn't have it. Okay, that sounds like a fair trade-off. 7 people lose for every 1 person that wins. Okay, I'm not going to Vegas with those odds anytime soon. So then they're going to start screaming and yelling and crying and whatever it is about Amy Coney Barrett. Okay, and now that there's a 6'3", or as I said yesterday, a 5'4", conservative advantage. I still think Roberts is a Democrat in Republican clothing, so, I mean, he sides with the left more than anybody else. So, but that's it. But you can look at it this way. Look at the bright side of things. I will give Ruth Bader Ginsburg credit. The greatest accomplishment she ever had on the face of the earth was dying, because we got ACB as our new Supreme Court Justice. So thank you, RBG. You finally did something right in your life. So now we move on. You're not going to see any riots by the right or anything like that. Everybody's just going to hunker down a little bit more, and they're going to watch with even a more jaded eye at the crazies that go out there. But you're going to see these cities burn, and they're going to burn bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're going to have all these people protesting. And Biden and Harris, of course, will do what they always do, which is nothing. Okay, so the cities will all burn. You'll have a bunch of people homeless, more than we already have. But then the big stuff starts happening. Joe wants to shut down the economy. Joe wants everybody to wear masks, and we all need to go into quarantine again. Wonderful. Okay, so guess what? We're going to be back up at 40% unemployment. And Biden, of course, the typical, they'll blame Trump. Of course, that will be, Trump won't even be president at this point, but that'll be Biden. That'll be Trump's fault. That Biden shut down the economy. Somehow it'll be Trump's fault. So the economy's going to slow down. The food's going to stop coming because truckers aren't going to go to work because of the riots, just like we saw before. The grocery stores aren't going to have any employees because they've had to close down and there's nowhere to have food. So now you're probably going to get out maybe a couple of months, I'd say March, after the inauguration, that Biden and Harris now have taken over the White House. Okay, so March should probably be about the time where Biden's starts to, I don't want to do this anymore. This is too hard. I want to go back to sleep. I need to go take 4 days in my basement to rest because I had a phone call with Emmanuel Macron. It just took everything out of me. Okay. So this will be when Kamala Harris will come in and she'll start running her radical left ideas. Okay. This will also be a time when the economy will pretty much have bottomed out. Okay, now you'll have your 40%, 50% unemployment. We'll still be in the middle of a coronavirus shutdown thanks to Biden, so nobody will be working. This is when the real riots are going to start. Okay, this is when you're going to start having marches on Washington that aren't going to be million-man marches. They're going to be 10 million-man marches, okay? You are going to have conservatives hitting state houses everywhere saying, open it up, we need to go back to work, okay? You're going to start having rebellion go on where companies are going to say, screw it, I'm opening anyway, okay? And, they're going to come. What are they going to do? Come in and write you a ticket? Great. They're going to tear up the ticket. They're going to come in and board your store up? Great. Crowbar. Okay. And they're going to have enough support by the townspeople that you're going to have what's eventually going to turn into a revolutionary war. Where if Trump wins, you got a minor civil war. If Biden wins, you're going to have 6 months out a revolutionary war where the people are finally going to have had enough, and they are going to march on the government, and they are going to, and believe me, it ain't only going to be conservatives. You're going to have plenty of Democrats. The far left is perfectly happy. They don't work anyway, so they don't care about a job. But you're going to have people starting to seriously resist. The silent majority will become very loud very quickly. But here's where the problem lies in that. There's going to be one city, one state house, one local county, wherever, where everything's going to go wrong. Where somebody is going to shoot somebody else or shoot a couple of people, and it's going to wind up exploding. Okay, it's basically going to be the match that's going to set off the powder keg. And this is going to be the scenario where the National Guard is fully called in. Biden will inevitably have to implement the Insurrection Act because he will have completely lost control of the country. All right. When you get to a situation where people can't survive, people can't eat, that's when things get crazy. And if you think I'm kidding, all right, take a look at Venezuela, take a look at what went on in Belarus, take a look at what went on in Ukraine, take a look at what's going on in Hong Kong. All right. When the people are completely repressed, they will fight back. The advantage that Americans have over the Venezuelans, the Ukrainians, the Belarusians, the natives of Hong Kong, whatever would be, we're armed. Okay, so it's a fair fight, And at this point, water cannons and rubber bullets aren't going to be what's used. That's what you need to be prepared for. Okay. So I said, getting into it, how does this affect all of us? I don't want to preach gloom and doom, okay? It's just those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it, okay? And what we're seeing with Biden-Harris is exactly what happened in the 1910s in the Bolshevik Revolution. It's also what we saw in the 1930s when Hitler and his whole gang of brown shirts came to power, okay? They put such a restriction on the people. The difference is they didn't have the means to fight back, okay? And if it comes down to a point of, do I fight for my ideals or do I fight for my food? People are going to fight for their food. And I don't care if you are a moderate Democrat, even a hardcore Democrat, just as long as you're not a loony lefty, far left tune, you're going to look back and go, okay, you know what? Freedom, right to choose or Obamacare isn't that important to me as putting the kids to bed with dinner tonight. All right. That's what's going to happen. And they're going to start fighting back too. And you're going to see a whole bunch of liberals, that's not even the right term, a whole bunch of Democrats, okay, swing to the center because their government has completely failed them. The comment we hear all the time, I didn't leave the Democrat Party left me. You will see that in droves come springtime if Biden wins, okay? They will completely lose control of the country. We will go through a period of a dark summer. I'll coin that one after everybody else wants to call it dark winter, but if Biden wins, it's not going to happen that fast. And you're going to have borderline anarchy in the country. That's kind of what they want, and that's what's going to wind up happening. So here's the resolution to that. And again, go back to the video I did a couple of weeks ago. How do you quell that? Well, it's not like all of a sudden they're going to say, Biden, you're out, Trump, you're in, okay? It doesn't work that way. So now what happens is you need international peacekeepers. Those are our blue-helmeted friends in the UN. And now all of a sudden, the United States is being policed by a foreign government. And that's kind of what they want. So if anybody doesn't think this is kind of all planned out to get us to a new world order, you're sadly mistaken. That's why they want Biden in. They want the complete chaos because then that brings in the complete leftist government and the worldwide government that George Soros, the Clintons, the Obamas are trying to push on us, okay? And their biggest fear, and again, I go back to the quote, don't underestimate Joe's ability to fuck things up. Their biggest fear is Joe somehow loses this election because that will probably, either way, the Democrat Party is probably irreparably damaged. Okay. They'll never be able to come back. I mean, who's going to be your new leader? AOC, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi is 107. You know, she's certainly not going to be around anyway. And I mean, hell, if you drag her out of a bar anyway, you know, the woman has, you know, 3 glasses of wine before she has her scrambled eggs in the morning. So, you know, perpetually drunk is not a good way to run a country. But this is kind of what you need to be prepared for. Be ready to hunker down for the long haul. We're already seeing everything starting to move out of the cities and move into the suburbs. It's eventually going to come to rural areas. It ain't going to be Hatfields and McCoys yet, but it's going to be damn close. And the best thing I can tell you to do is get with your like-minded neighbors, your family, your friends, get your gear put together, get your food situation straightened out, make plans for how you're going to survive. From now, probably the next year is going to be very difficult. Let's just put it that way. It's going to be very difficult to feed yourself. It's going to be very difficult to pay your bills. It's going to be very difficult to go anywhere. All of these things are potentially deadly. Okay, if you can't feed yourself, you starve. If you can't pay your bills, you're out in the elements with no roof over your head. You go out into public and you never know who out there is snapped, and they just decide, hey, I want your car. I saw you buy a watermelon at the store. I want that watermelon. And, you know, the next thing you know, you got a knife in your side. You'd be amazed how little people will kill for. I mean, you see stories in the news every once in a while. Oh, the guy, you know, killed a shop clerk, you know, and they had $12 in the bank. You know, a guy goes to jail and gets a death penalty for the rest of his life for a measly $12. Okay. If you're hungry, you know, if people are hungry, they might do that for something as silly as a loaf of bread or a watermelon. Okay. Be ready for that. We know the economy's already in trouble. If anybody's seen what the stock market's done here in the last couple of days, it's dropped nearly 2,000 points in the last couple of days because Wall Street is already thinking that Biden might win, and they're already selling off because they know that higher taxes and, you know, every social program in the world, you know, free college, let anybody who wants to come in the United States, it'll destroy the economy. Okay, and so they're getting out while the getting's good. Fortunately for me, I got out about a month ago. So that was because I could see this coming. But that's what you're looking at with the Biden presidency. Okay. As much as the left hates Trump, that's going to be a short-lived civil type deal that I figure is over in about a month. If Biden wins, you have a full-blown revolutionary war. Not the battles, redcoats, wrong bat. Well, you know what I mean. Redcoats and Americans, not that kind. You're not going to have battlefields, but you are going to have large-scale skirmishes all over the place. They really want balkanization. That might be what's coming. Okay. If we do have it, my guess is we wind up split into 3 different countries. You'd have the Pacific Coast, say Washington, Oregon, California, possibly Nevada, probably Colorado and New Mexico, and Arizona is just going to get swallowed into it. Okay. There's going to be one country. The other one that you may have is going to be New England, you know, all the way down to the DC, Virginia area. Maybe Pennsylvania gets swallowed into that, and then that'll head through Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. That'll be your East Coast. Then you're going to have the centralized, you know, everything else will basically be free America. That may happen. It'll be really interesting if it does, because if it does, I'd bet within a year, you'd have the New England states screaming uncle because they couldn't feed themselves. And within 2 years, you'd have the Pacific states collapse just from the influx of immigration, and they wouldn't be able to feed all the people again. That's kind of what we're looking at with the Biden presidency. Those are the possibilities. If that all isn't enough to scare the crap out of you, I don't know what is. But as usual, these are my opinions. Granted, I come from the right, okay, but I also look at this through logical eyes and try to prepare for either situation. I'm fully stocked up, okay? Food, ammo, security, you name it. I got it already. They come near me, they may get me, but I guarantee I'll take 10 of them with me, okay? Folks, these are probably the 2 toughest videos I've had to make. They'll probably be 2 of the toughest videos I'm ever going to have to make. I really don't want to get into the doom and gloom of stuff, but I'd be doing you all a disservice if I didn't kind of tell you what I see coming going forward. And believe me, don't believe me, troll me, great, you get removed, I don't care. But at least if I can make you think, that's kind of my whole point. The what ifs, okay? This is my idea of the what if happens if Biden wins. Feel free to share this with anybody. Hopefully before they go to vote, maybe they'll think. But I think after recording these videos, I'm ready for a beer. If y'all want to buy me one, there's a link down at the bottom. But yeah, that's pretty much where I see it from my neck of the woods 5 days out before the election. Guys, stay safe, stay protected, pray for the best, prepare for the worst. Pinball out.